Konnichiwa, FlintsStoneCorner. Welcome to another album review. This time I'll be taking a look at the latest release from Melechesh, which is called Enki. Melechesh is a band founded in 1993, originally in Jerusalem in Israel, but during their career they moved to the Netherlands. What is hard about this band is to accurately pinpoint the music style, since they have a pretty mixture of many different styles, but what's in there is some black metal, we have some death metal, and some very distinct elements of Middle Eastern folk. Even though their first album, As Jerusalem Burns, was very clearly influenced by the early 90s European black metal, with their successor of this album, it's called Jinn, they incorporated the Middle Eastern elements more and more. For example, the first song, which is more or less an instrumental intro, and it's called Whispers from the Tower, is just purely made up of these folk instruments. But the melody they create within this song carries over to the second song called Genie, Sorceress, and Mesopotamian Nights. And this habit of creating these kind of Arabic Oriental melodies with the traditional European instruments, meaning guitars and bass also, that's what really made this band special. Even though they developed their sound on these subsequent albums, they managed to keep this specialty in their music. So here we are with their newest release, Enki. And after two very high-class releases, namely the Epigenesis and Emissaries, at least my expectations on this album were very high. So let's see if this holds. But before we start, the question is, who or what is Enki? In a text published in the book The Literature of Ancient Sumer by Jeremy Black and co-workers, he describes himself as, "I am the great lord of the land. I am the principal among all rulers, the father of all the foreign lands. I am the big brother of the gods." So you see, he's quite a big gun in the pantheon of ancient Sumer. And so the question is this record also a big gun among the 2015 releases? What I like is that the sound itself is very rounded. We have the drums, which are crystal clear. We can locate every pattern, every little percussion line the drummer plays. The guitars are also clear, but a little bit rough, so the edges are there. It's not polished like glam metal albums. And the bass is present, not in the foreground, but if you listen to the song Multiple Truths, it's present and it gives the song a kind of heavy foundation on which the other instruments can develop. And in general, the sound of the album is very heavy, it's very groovy, and the aforementioned song, Multiple Truths, is a good example for this. It's basically based in the low or mid-tempo section. It has the very rocky beginning, and it's overlain by this Melechesh typical Arabic melodies, and it's generally very cultish. And it's astonishing how they play with it. These melodies sometimes almost vanish in the background behind this main riff, but then pop up again and create an atmosphere within the song, which is awesome. And this habit of playing a melody, which is almost below the main riff, is also done in the song Lost Tribes, in the last third of the song. And the melody itself unfolds in a very, very big manner. And the song in general has a kind of epicness I really, really adore. But let me hop to the beginning of the album, to the first song, Tempest, Temper, Enlil, Enraged. This song had a similar wow effect as the first song of the Emissaries album called Rebirth of the Nemesis, which is, by the way, kind of a classic of this band. Actually, in every set, they play this song, and I really recommend you to listen to that one. But back into the action. Both songs have kind of a foreplay, and kind of because this foreplay for Rebirth of Nemesis is just plain silence. Whereas in Tempest, Temper, Enlil, Enraged, we find a melody introducing the kind of Arabic theme of the album. But then we have the announcement, and so it begins. And That's when the magic happens. That's what reminded me of the Rebirth of Nemesis song, because both songs kind of punch you in the face with a fist. And this fist is made up of blast beats, of very fast yet melodic tremolo guitars, and it's just 0 to 60 in a split second. Nonetheless, both songs reduce their speed and evolve around this groovy mid-tempo area. But don't get me wrong, they did not copy that song. It's just that Rebirth of the Nemesis was a more or less, at least for me, more or less perfect start for an album, and they managed to redo this here and have the same effect that I was instantly stuck to this album and wanted to listen to it in a whole piece. Furthermore, for me, this is kind of a reminiscence to their early days, where they, as I stated in the beginning of this review, were very black metalish. And another reminiscence is the song Metatron and Man, which starts with a fast shredding riff, and it's general an up-tempo song. But nonetheless, we have these melodies and we have this groovy parts. It's like a little element of Satyricon, or the later Satyricon, dropped into the music here. But what should not be unmentioned is the incorporation of the traditional Arabic instruments every now and then in the album. For example, in the beginning of the song The Palm, the Eye and Lapis Lazuli, which exclusively starts with a melody played with these instruments, and later the song develops into a groovy song again. But the next song, Doorways to Irkala, is a song completely made up of traditional instruments, string instruments, percussion instruments. And this is a thing they also did in the last two albums before, even though on the Epigenesis they had two songs like that, and here only one, but it fits in this album. I think maybe one more song would be too much, since this song is 8 minutes long, and you do not want to overextend this. But it's good, it fits, it gives a kind of mystical touch to the album, and it's a perfect prequel to the last finishing song called The Outsiders. And here it's again like on the Epigenesis. We have a very long song. It's, I think, more than 12 minutes long, and it takes its time to develop. It is like a cross-section of the whole album. It's groovy, it's melodic. In the middle it slows down to a staccato rhythm, and this is overlain with a freaking guitar solo, and this is all enriched by bells. Yes, bells. Every now and then there is a tiny bell sound appearing in the music. When the song turns to an end, the band accelerates the tempo of the music. It's a fast blast beat driven music then, and this builds a bridge to the beginning of the album. So we have kind of unity here. To me at least, this seems that they really do work on the songs, that they think about the songs and try to develop them and bring all the creativity in the songs. This album has done this, at least for me. And what should be noted also is that the drumming here is kind of exceptional. Since it's not only standard drumming, okay, sometimes we have standard beats, but they fit the music. But most of the time, it's a very dynamic drumming. It's variational and never gets boring, and it helps to keep the album interesting if you listen to it a few more times. So, if you never ever listened to a Melechesh album before, and you're into this kind of groovy yet sometimes fast music with great melodies and very tiny little nice details, this one is for you. Or at least you should give it a try. But on the other hand, if you're familiar with Melechesh and you like the Emissaris and the Epigenesis album, this one is definitely for you. After all this praise, there's one thing I'd like to add here. Even though I like it how the band develops their sound around this heavy grooviness, I would like to see some development for the next albums, since this is what they have done now for 3 records. All of the 3 were good. Don't get me wrong, I really, really like them. But development is good, and I don't want to see them falling into some sort of, groovy stagnation and I don't want them to be the Amon Amarth of Arabic-influenced melodic metal. With this all in mind, I would say this album is a solid 8, maybe an 8.5. So give it a chance, listen to it, and if you like it, buy it. And with this, I would like to thank you for your time and your attention, and as always, rock on. Flint out.